Surprise, surprise! Well, happy Tuesday. You know, some might call it Taco Tuesday. We're going to call this Tune-In Tuesday. What are you tuning into? There's a dog behind me, isn't there? I smell it, I feel it on my skin, and I feel her tail wagging. Meet Mocha. This is my girlfriend's dog. I'm watching her for a day. She's a sweetie. Okay, you go out to the kitchen. Go on. You go lay down. She's super sweet, and she's so calm. Buddy's kind of like, he's got a little girlfriend. He's kind of cute, actually. But he's not being a very good host. How are you all doing today? Let's check in. Like, really check in. Whew. Here's the situation. There's a lot of pressure building. That's what happens. That's what happens. When you are not in alignment with your heart and soul, you will feel the pressure within, like an implosion, like you're ready to explode. Things aren't lining up. Things aren't not natural to you. They're not in your highest good. Your heart is bleeding. Your soul is screaming. How many of you out there are feeling this? Because essentially that's what's going on in the world. We are currently in a period of time where, yeah, it's heavy. It's not natural. It's not who we are. It's not who we are. We are humans first. Actually, we're souls first. We're humans second. We are all beings, not doings. So I want you to just come center with me for a moment here. Close your eyes down. Start breathing long, slow, and deep. I want you to breathe deep within the belly. I want you really to expand this. Come down deep into your pelvic floor. Expand the belly. Feel the ribs expanding. Feel your chest lifting. On the exhale, the chest lowers. The ribs come in and contract, and the belly pulls in and up at the navel point. And I want your whole body to feel like you're being pulled from the top of your skull. Feel that elongation on the exhalation. On the inhalation, feel the expansion of your body. Feel the expansion of your energy, your aura, your magnetic field. Exhaling, feel that elongation. Feel that strengthening. We transform in between the inhale and the exhale. We are always inhaling or exhaling at all times, except for in that pause. That pause is so brief. Really tune into it. Notice that pause. And also notice. Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to your mind. Inhaling long, slow, and deep. On the top of that inhalation, notice the pause. On the exhalation, squeeze all that breath out. Feel the pause. Notice it. Notice your mind. Notice your body. Notice your sensations. Your sight, your smell, your taste, your hearing, and your touch. Notice, tap in, tune in. Tune in Tuesday. Tune into your senses, your 5 spidey senses. Because they're all there to serve you. Because that's how you take in information. It's how you're programmed. That's how you're wired. That's why it's so important to tune into our breath, to master our breath, so that we can master our lives by mastering our mind and recognizing that whatever we're sensing, that's what makes us sensitive, sentient beings. Even place one hand, your left hand over your heart, your right hand over your abdomen, your belly. Tune into any emotions, any feelings, whatever's been arising in you during this time. I know these times are challenging. I'm here with you. I'm experiencing the exact same thing that every single one of you is going through. None of us are immune. It's just the level to which we feel and sense it and are aware of it. How aware are you that this is a collective upgrade? This is a collective transformation, coming into our power. This is a collective, seriously, this is us moving into a new world. But the thing is we get to choose what that is. We don't have to be the victims of it. We need to be the creators, the masters, the architects of it. That takes conscious effort, that takes conscious awareness and choice to be tapped in, tuned in to what really is going on within you, is to tune in what's going on around you. That when you are so tuned in, tapped in, turned on to yourself, nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can get one over on you. You know truth in you, you will know truth and see it in clarity around you. It's not just a visual thing. It's on that subtle level. The sensitivity in you makes you that much more aware of everything around you. That is that's your strength about being a human. That's the beauty of being a human. When people talk about being empaths, there are two types of empaths. There is the empath who is in touch with themselves and knows themselves intimately, deeply, and is healing, working to consciously not be triggered and taken out of their peace, but to be in awareness of when something resonates from an old wound and to see it as such, healed or unhealed. An opportunity to grow, an opportunity to let go of something that no longer serves. Versus the empath who picks up on the energies of others because they have a whole lot of unhealed, unresolved trauma they themselves have not tuned into. They themselves are unaware of because they're not in touch with themselves. The only thing they're in touch with is the fact that they are very sensitive, but they haven't tapped into the senses. See the difference. Notice the difference. Notice it in yourself as you sit here, still with one hand on your heart and one over your belly. Just really tap into. If you're an empath, you feel, we're all empaths technically. We're all sentient beings. We're sensitive. That is our gift. That is humanity. You can't take that away from yourself unless you're trying to numb it out. When you numb it out, you're numbing the pain because you don't want to feel the pain, because that's horrible, right? But you wouldn't know pleasure without the pain. So when you numb the pain, you numb the joy. And if you numb that pain, you're going to be looking for things to bring you joy that will reawaken the senses that you yourself have numbed out, that you are denying yourself in feeling. So that no matter how much pain you think you're feeling, you have to be willing to sit with the pain to reach and get through to the pleasure. You can't have one without the other. That would be a robot. And it's random. You can't pick apart pieces of yourself. People do it all the time. We've been conditioned to feel ashamed of the pieces of us that don't feel so comfortable. From the moment we're born, we're told that we're born with sin. We're born of sin. Does that make sense to anybody out there? Do you really truly believe that? Do you really truly resonate with that? Because I know for myself, my heart and soul doesn't align with that. It doesn't align with lies. I tap into knowing that I am worthy. You are worthy. That sin is a man-made construct. That no God would create a perfect being in his image, him, her, whatever, just to condemn it at the same time. Consider that. If we are made in the likeness, the perfect image of God, why would we deny ourselves of that? Why would we feel ashamed and guilty? Only because we've been told to. Only because we've been guilted and shamed into it. Shame is a great tool for immediately becoming aware that you have made a mistake, and it offers up the opportunity to self-correct. Shame is not a place to live. Shame is not your birthright. Shame is actually a liar. And you know, it's a bullshit liar. Call its bluff and tell it to fuck off. Straight up. Doesn't belong. Doesn't belong. And you shouldn't allow it to, and don't buy into it. Because you are perfect as you are. Again, let's go back to this. If you are made in God's image, why are you having to prove yourself? Why? If you are a true believer, then you would not deny the fact that you have everything right here. This perfect body does not need to be manipulated, does not need to be cut up and stuck under a microscope. Even when you go to the doctor, I don't feel good today. You're trusting the doctor more than you are your own instinct, your own intuition, and really denying the touch, the sensation, the full essence of being present in this body. If I have a toothache, what am I going to think about? First, I'm going to think, what did I eat? What can I do to soften maybe even numb the pain a little bit, to kind of like work with it if it's that excruciating? I'm going to alkalize it. I'm going to try to isolate it in the way that, okay, well, there's always a root cause, right? You can't just say I have a toothache without recognizing, ironically, this is word usage too here. You can't say I have a toothache without thinking about the root of it. Where is the actual pain coming from? Where is the point of origin? We always have to kind of bring it back to where things begin. They don't begin where the pain begins or ends. You gotta follow back to where the origin is. In everything in life. You have pain, you have trauma. You don't have to go back to that place. It doesn't even exist anymore. Whether it's from your childhood. If anything, you can sit with it and remind yourself that that's no longer here and now. That's the past. And you can unshackle, remove the ball and chain that's held you there. It's a choice. It really is a choice, a conscious choice. Because we're unconsciously living in our pain more than we are in our pleasure and our present. Think about that. You know, wearing the badge of honor victim, the victimhood badge of honor, doesn't serve any of us. It actually holds us back because the victim is all the way back in the past. A victim can't be present. Victim can't be present. That's not who you are. You're not a victim. If anything, you are the creator of your life. You are the architect of your destiny. We, as soul beings, created all of this beautiful life for ourselves to enjoy, to be entertained. I kind of like to think of it as boot camp for your destiny, or an obstacle course. We came from source, we come down here, we kind of like go, well, let's see how we can find our way back, because we don't come with our full memory. Some of us remember it when we were children. We did have a whole lot more sense of like where we came from, still connected to source. But as we get older, we're told, no, you don't know what you're talking about. No, that's not right. Here, we're going to give you this information and you have to take that in and deny and ignore everything that you know intuitively. From the moment we're born, we're told what to think, what to believe, who to trust, not even ourselves. Everything is told to us. Everything. So at what point do you wake up and go, well, then what is the truth? What of my story is really mine? As opposed to taking on the personas of our parents or the environment we grew up in. The belief systems that aren't even truly ours, except for that we were told or we witnessed and we experienced. So when you're told a story, you witness it in others. So you adopt other people's programming. And then you get to a point where you have experiences that mimic and repeat those stories. Anybody else out there? And then you go, wait a minute. One day you wake up and go, this isn't really even who I am. This doesn't resonate. Well, how did I go along with this for so long? And why? Challenge that. Ask questions. Lean into that. Sit with that shit. That's what I've had to do over my entire life. That the moment I recognized that, wow, I was living a life that very much mirrored my parents, I was like, whoa, that was a huge wake-up call for me. And I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but if you have, let me know in the comments. I literally was dating somebody and it was very volatile, and I've never had an abusive relationship before that. So I was kind of taken aback that it even gotten to the level that it was. And when I woke up to it and I witnessed my father, and I love my dad, I just saw the pattern and I went, whoa, he's become my father and I became my mother. And I stepped back and I witnessed behaviors. And I said, you know what? This is icky. This isn't right. This isn't mine. No. I take back my power. This stops now with me. I'm not repeating this. I'm not carrying forward its legacy. This isn't mine. This isn't what I'm meant to live. This isn't my joy. This isn't even my pain. I'm carrying on someone else's pain. That's what we do. It's a loyalty factor too, if you really think about it, because a lot of us, it's all about, carrying on. The legacy is like an unconscious loyalty. Because how many people run around and go, well, my father was like that, my father's father was like that, or my mother was like that, my mother's mother was like that. So I'm just pretty much, you become submissive to a pattern that is not good. It's not healthy. It's toxic, right? So it takes conscious effort to first off be willing to sit and recognize it. If you're not happy in your life, whatever is going on, you got to sit with your stuff. You got to kind of go, wait a minute here. Wait a minute here. There's a pattern. There's a pattern. Let me just witness this. Let me observe this long enough to maybe even recognize that it's not mine, so I don't need to hold on to it. I don't need to continue living this life of shame, blame, victimhood, because that's essentially what it all is. It's a shame, blame, victimhood mentality that, everything's being done to you, but it's not. You're allowing things to be done to you, but it's not being done to you. That's the disempowerment. When you finally wake up to the pains and realize this is done, I'm over this, I'm no longer doing this, then you've started the ball rolling to claiming back your personal power. You yourself are re-empowering yourself. That's the key. And every one of us has that opportunity. You see a problem, dive in and fix it, but don't avoid it. Because what you resist will persist, as they say. And when you step up and own your power back, your life changes immediately. Maybe not visually to you, but just by taking that step, making that connection, having that awareness of where you are in your dis-ease, your discomfort, your unhappiness, that when you see it, you can solve it, you can resolve it, you can rewrite the story of your life, because you're not a victim of your life. You're the victor. You are you're the architect. You're the creator. Sure, all of us have been programmed in some way, shape, or form that we need to reclaim our true essence, our sovereignty. That all the stories that we have taken on, you can let go of that. And you'll feel so much lighter when you get to that point. When you start dropping the big baggage, dropping the weight of the world that you've been carrying, the weight of your ancestral legacy, your environmental legacy, You're not a victim of your circumstances. If anything, you have the opportunity to challenge them. Most of it's up in here. The biggest challenge is in confronting and sitting with the thoughts that arise that aren't even real. They're not real. The fear of what you imagine and think, yeah, that's real. And do you know that your thoughts create your emotions? And that when you feel an emotion, it's mostly because you have an unconscious thought that has been triggered by something. It could be a smell. It could be a sight. It could be a sound, a taste, something you touch. That's again how we are programmed. When you get things in through all your senses, it sticks that much stronger. And when an emotion is evoked, it's easier to manipulate you, traumatize you, even encourage and influence, inspire and motivate you. Because that's what emotion does. And whenever an emotion is evoked in you, a trigger from an old past, especially a trauma, you are going to experience every single trauma that you have ever had in your life in that moment. And you should be able to recognize that in other people around you, because that's happening for us all. That when you see someone is viscerally, visibly triggered, caught in their stuff, and you've been there, step back and give them space. Allow them to process in whatever way they need to. You don't need to stop them. You don't need to inhibit them. You don't need to even participate. You holding space is actually something very special, very sacred, and very much revered. Because a lot of us don't have that. A lot of people don't have others that are willing to just allow them to sit in their stuff, to go through their experience of emotions and traumas and reliving the past. Again, we're not meant to live in it. But when we get there, we have to be willing to feel it. Otherwise, you can't heal it. With awareness, you have a key to moving through. Because of energy and motion. Emotions are meant to keep going and flowing. You're not meant to be stuck in the muck. Although the lotus blooms from the mud, the only way it will is if you allow it its space to grow and evolve and transform. And each one of us needs that and deserves that. So when someone gets triggered, gets caught off guard, sometimes the best thing is to just be silent and let it happen. Sometimes it's walking away. But when you interrupt somebody in the middle of their crisis, their trauma, or you participate in it, you're just re-enabling it, reinforcing it, believe it or not. With that awareness, and I don't expect everyone to just take this and go, oh my gosh, I've got the solution to everybody's problems. Please don't do that. This is not advised for those of you at home. Just because I'm saying it doesn't mean it's easy for you to apply it. And I say that because I know for myself, when I learned all these wonderful things about nutrition, when I learned all these wonderful things about yoga and meditation, and whenever I've found solutions for myself, of course, what's the first thing you do? I want to solve the world. I've got the answers. I don't want to see anybody else suffer. Let me give you some advice. Let me push this on to you. It's so easy to get caught up in the, I'm going to save others, because that's just as much a distraction as it would be to save yourself. How many of you out there have done that? I know I'm not alone. It's so easy to turn around and go, yes, I'm going to go fix my father, my mother. I've got the answers. I know exactly why they behave the way they do. Let me tell you that the ego does not like it when someone else tells them they are wrong. Does not like it when you point out their faults. Especially does not like being told you know better than they do. Do you like that? You think you can change someone else? How's change working for you? Think about that. If you're not actively working on yourself and you're not working to change yourself, what makes you think you're so self-righteous that you're going to change someone else? That you've got the answers for everyone else. If it's not working for you and you're not inspiring people through doing you, taking care of you, working on you. When people look at you and they say, what are you doing? I want some of that. Give me advice. That's when you act. that's when you offer. If nobody is asking you, I'm just going to suggest this. Mind your own business. Why? Because nobody wants unsolicited advice. Most people, they just want someone to listen. And in some cases, you have to learn to discern whether you're enabling a bad behavior or pattern in someone, or if you are honestly able to sit there, listen, and allow them to find their own solutions. Because that's technically how we're meant to evolve. Self-correct, not forced correction, not guilted, not shamed. This is the biggest problem, like what's going on out in the world, this whole idea of a blame and shame game. You're this, you're that, you. Do you like that? Because I sure as hell don't. I am the first person to tell you, if you are up in my face telling me what I'm doing wrong, I may stand there long enough to let you finish speaking, I may not. But essentially, you know what this is? My ego. This is my ego. You know why? Because my ego says, fuck you, don't know me. Anybody else have this issue? And I know my mind. I know how my mind operates. I know my mind well enough to know that I have issues with authority. Why? Because nobody needs to be under anybody else's thumb. Nobody is meant to be enslaved to somebody else's totalitarian authoritarianism. That anybody having to tell you what to do is their own fear. That is them trying to maintain control over something outside of themselves they're not able to do within themselves. So again, if you are somebody who is always up in someone's face trying to tell them what to do and how they should do it and all that, you might want to take some humble pie. Take a deep breath, step back, gain clarity of why you're even thinking you should be doing that. Nobody wants to be controlled by another. And so when someone's doing this to you, nobody likes fingers in the face. I know I don't. This is like a huge no-no in the humanity department. You don't do this. Because this is a loaded gun and you got 3 fingers pointing back. When you're pointing a finger, you are fully locked and loaded and charging 3 fingers worth, 3 times as much of what you're accusing, right back at you. And what's going on in the world right now with this whole gender identity, political identity, all of this is distraction. It's the art of war. Divide and conquer. When we all have more in common than we do non common. More in common than we have out of common. Uncommon. Come on, think about this. We are humans. We all want connection. We all want love. We want to feel good. Go around trying to make other people feel better. Like smile. Yeah. Sorry. I'm the emperor who wears no clothes. This is my mask. I am not going to hide who I am in any way, shape, or form. Because this false sense of security, this idea that you have to do things for others to make them feel better, is still perpetuating the same damn cycle, the same damn bullshit we've been told from the times that we were born of sin, that we must think of others first and not of ourselves. The patriarchy's died. And it's time to recognize and stand up and know that you are personally responsible for the temple that you are housed in. The idea that someone else needs to feel safe by you compromising yours, that's nonsensical. See? Sense. You got to tap into your senses and learn yourself. Intuition, into me I see. When you are so spot on in knowing who you are, know thyself and be true, you choose your battles wisely if you really even choose any battles. And you'll choose to stay and maintain your own peace. I'm serious, like when I say everybody deserves to be a sovereign being in their essence. Nobody needs to put on a fake persona. Or, as we say, proof that you're doing something for me and you're not being selfish. Fuck that. I have F-bombed more this past year because I am so over the lies. I'm over the manipulation. I'm over the fact that I spent over 10 years in the Air Force and another almost 10 years in government contracting to see from the inside out the abuse of power and the corruption. You don't have to take my word for it. I just know. And I think I'm a pretty headstrong and well-intentioned, also clear-minded individual because I do my own due diligence. I have critical reasoning. I trust myself wholly and fully. You know, we all have those moments of insecurity. Don't get me wrong. We go through waves of emotions and experiences. And you know, one day you may be contemplating death and what's the meaning of life. And the next day you may be going, what is my purpose? And do I really even make a difference in the world? And I do that. I'm human. But that's all part of the beauty of life, to celebrate. That we can go through these roller coaster rides and we can rise as we fall. You know, like it's all. We're supposed to experience it all. This is the joy of living, not dying. See, and this was dropped in earlier. Are you dying to live or living to die? When I lived in Italy, it was, are you working to live or are you living to work? That one really sunk in my stomach the first time I heard it. It struck home because I was a workaholic. Because my mentality was, I had to work hard, I had to be successful, I had to prove myself worthy. And I was always going 1,000% up and always proving myself, but never feeling enough. Still. I mean, especially in the military, as a woman, and better yet, back when there weren't that many women in IT. And God forbid that I made my male counterparts look not quite so smart, not so intelligent. I was constantly pitted against them. Not a fun thing. And it did cause me a lot of inner resentment and anger because I felt like I was always struggling, striving, having to prove. And I know I was good at what I did. And I know I was professional. And I witnessed others not even reaching that level or meeting that bar. That their bar compared to mine was down here. Because yes, we compare ourselves. That's human nature. Nobody out there can say you don't judge. Because you are constantly comparing yourself to others. And that is judgment. It's also how we discern. It becomes harmful when we're pointing fingers. When we're blaming and shaming, when we're denying and rejecting. You have to own judgment because it's there to serve you. Judgment, comparing, also allows you to recognize what feels good and what doesn't. Am I right? Am I wrong? Anybody? So much is going on in the world, and most people are afraid. What are you afraid of is the first question. Are you afraid of dying? Because you're not living if you are. The fear of dying is the first thing that causes you to deteriorate and your immune system to drop and all the dis-ease to come to the surface. The more you're isolated, the more you want to break free. Just like anything, the ego, the mind, the heart and the soul suffer when the head is involved and the head is ruling. None of us need to be apart from one another. If you are someone who has immune compromise and you feel you need to take care of yourself, you should honor that. But don't expect others to make everything around you like a bubble and protect you. That's a false sense of security. And as much as we'd like to think that everybody has our best interest at heart, we have to have that first for ourselves. And if you don't, and you're expecting everyone else to take care of you, other than being a princess or a prince, which is really, I'm sorry, that's unrealistic. It's unrealistic that others are going to make you feel better. If you're not working to make yourself feel better, you're living in la la land. And you have numbed yourself out. Because the outside environment is a reflection of the inside. And if you're expecting and pointing the fingers at other people to take care of the things that you feel they need to be doing, then you're not working on the inside stuff. Because the only reason you feel discomfort is of something inside of you that you don't want to confront, that you keep ignoring and rejecting. When you're willing to sit with that crazy ass crap that you deny every single time, the outside won't trigger you, won't upset you anymore. But the only way it's going to go away on the outside is if you tackle it on the inside. Don't deny yourself that. And don't disempower yourself by saying it's somebody other than yourself. You are not a victim. If you choose to be, you give your power away. If you are truly in your power, you can't wear that badge. Victimhood can't penetrate someone who is in their full power, knows their truth, knows thyself. That is not victimhood. That is honorable. That is the victor. Any questions? You know, when I started out this live, I really wasn't going in that direction. That's just what kind of came through as I started speaking. But essentially, something really interesting I read this morning. I was in a psychedelic group, and someone had posted about having had this full-on experience where they felt like, and you know, this might be triggering if you don't like sex, but here's the truth. We've all been disempowered with the whole sexual revolution. It's either this extreme or that extreme. You're either doing it or you're not doing it. And if you're doing it to one extreme or you're doing it to the other. I'm just saying. It's the way that it feels and seems. That we should feel dirty and icky around the whole sexual conversation, which is a bunch of bullshit too. Because guess what? Sex is not just intercourse. And let's say that sex is not always penetration, the way that we think in terms of a man and a woman. I'm just going to use that example because we're not going to go into all the other extremes. But when you stop and really consider that everything is creation, everything is evolving, that energy is constantly dancing and moving and transforming, the cycle of life is, you know, obviously you have to procreate in some way, shape, or form in order to get pregnant and to create and to birth, to rebirth, to die. The cycle continues, the infinity. If you really stop and think about it, all the energy that is moving and transforming, visually or not, is this amazing, as I wrote it, it's repurposing, it's evolving, it's creating, it's reforming, it's intermingling. That's the word I like. It's an orgy of energies. That's all I can say. If you really stop and think about it, the orgy of energies, intermingling, intermixing, whether the wind blows and moves the pollen so that a tree can produce fruit. That's a form of intercourse. But nobody's going to really want to see it that way because, you know, we're puritanical over here with all this religious talk about how you're not supposed to talk about sex and sex is a sin. That's all man-made bullshit. To disempower you from the true power within your being, that truly sex is transformative energy. Kundalini energy is meant to rise. It's what inspires you. It's what gets you like, oh, I had this epiphany and I'm going to put this into motion and I created this business or this product. Intercourse. It's just a different form of verbiage. But the intimacy that occurs, whether it's a beautiful discussion, is no less sexual than the actual physical between two people or whatever. Think about that. And that it's happening all the time, all around us. But because we've been taught that it's dirty, that it's not. What do you think Tantra is? Tantra is not just about sexual positions. It's about harnessing that creative Kundalini sexual energy. We call it sexual energy because That's the only way you know it. But it's not sexual energy. It's transformative. It's constantly in motion. It's that, you know, when you light a firecracker or you light a rocket and it's a spark. And then it just takes on momentum, and it grows and it goes and it flows and it evolves and transforms and creates this amazing, beautiful. That's life. And magic and miracles are happening around us at all times because we don't see the root of that. We don't see the actual intercourse that created whatever that is. That thought that you have, that spark, that inspiration, it's another form of intercourse. How present are you to yourself that you would recognize something so profound and magical that's always happening? That yes, intercourse is happening all around you, in you, out of you, everywhere. Is that not the craziest thought? So I sat with that this morning going, yeah, that's how it is. And the main wake up for me, other than the fact that I've been studying all this stuff all of my life, and that to me, sex is a sacred thing. I'm not saying, like on the one hand, this is how extremes happen, right? We want to believe that we want to be all prim and proper, one partner, this and that. And I'm not advocating this or that or anything. I personally have always been very a one-person type, but I can see how others may do other things because they're exploring, they're learning, they're growing, they're finding themselves through their intercourse, their engagements, their how we connect. For some, sex is a tool like that. For some, it's an addiction because they're constantly seeking something they're not finding within. Think about this now. So sex addiction is always seeking something with somebody else that they don't feel they have in themselves. You're trying to gain, it's also another form of control, power over by attaining through this physical intercourse. It doesn't make you better and it doesn't make you right. It doesn't make you wrong either. It's just part of your path and your choice. And everything's going to serve you. But there's a certain point where you finally realize, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm not being true to me. Like, who hasn't been a little promiscuous in their youth? To the point where you realize, you know what? I actually prefer to be with one person because it's not so convoluted and like muddied water, for example. I personally have never been able to date more than one person at a time, so I can't speak to all of that. But yeah, having multiple partners without dating someone in that time, it's a risk. It's a risk that, number one, you're taking on their energies. We're not even talking about, STDs or anything like that, or the dishonoring of yourself or whatever you want to believe. But what we are talking about is energy. And you have to take responsibility for your energy and that other person that you allow into you, that you receive, man or woman. Because the energies of sex are something sacred. Like when you go into it, are you the type of person who goes in for just the feelings and the pleasure and then just feel like left hanging like it was great, but I don't feel like I got anything out of it? Because really, here's where we need to re-empower ourselves. If you're going to be engaging in sexual intercourse with another person, you should be setting an intention. Like, what do you want to do with this energy? How do you want to evolve, transform, and grow it? Because yeah, maybe you do have multiple partners, but maybe you do it in a sacred way. Maybe you're someone who transforms that energy and uses it to fuel. Like, I'm going to use this in this moment. I'm going to grab all that energy. I'm going to take that energy from the base of my spine and I'm going to heal my body because it is healing. Don't let anybody tell you that sex isn't healthy, because it is. It is very healthy. It is healing. if you're with the right partner, if you're with the right intentions, if you are right with yourself. But if you're not right with yourself, I would advise you to not just go, whew, start just blowing energy all over the place. Because that's why I feel sex should be sacred and revered as such. And harnessed in a way that isn't just, you know, the fire hose, just making a mess as you go. Maybe that's a little too much information. Maybe I went a little bit too overboard with that one. You tell me. What's your experience? What do you believe? Because that's what colors your reality in your life. You don't have to agree with me. Just consider it. Because that's what discourse and dialogues are all about. Conversations. We can agree to disagree. I'm willing to listen to you. If you're willing to listen to me, we don't need to point fingers and say you're right or wrong. We need to get back to that type of intercourse, engaging with one another. That's, again, I don't care what you call it. That's life. So, I think I talked enough there. Let's make a smoothie. All right, I had already kind of started. I forgot to put water in there, but I got 2 bananas. I'm feeling hungry. Actually, I was going to make a coffee because I know there are people out there that haven't had. Have you ever had a coffee from, we call this a Mocha in Napoletano. Questo si chiama la Mocha. This is the Italian espresso. We're not calling it a machine. Contraption. This is an espresso maker. All right. So la Mocha. See this? It comes with 3 parts. Look at that. See? It's kind of cool when you think about it. This is where the coffee will be poured from. But before you can even get to that, you have to take the filter out. See the inside of that? That's where the water goes. See this little thing out here? This is the little exhaust valve, because essentially you need to have an air escape route, because you're going to put the water up to the inside where that little hole is. You put the water to this level on the inside. Let's see. See that? Right here. You're going to put the water to that level. Hopefully I got exactly enough to do this. It's easier when it's level on the countertop. So you put the water in there. Then you take the filter. You plop it back inside. Now what you're going to do is put the coffee grounds inside of here. And since I know you all know how much I love this stuff. So, you know, I am all into my mushies, my mushrooms. This is Lion's Mane coffee for Sigmatic. Have you ever had these? I'm one of those people who cleans up the kitchen as I go, so I always like to clean as I go so I don't have to go back in the end. It's just something I've always been like when I was a kid. This idea that if you clean up as you go, you can sit down and enjoy and not have to go back later and clean up. I don't like dishes in the sink. I'm not really a big dishwasher person. Of course, I don't hold big enough events at the moment to where I feel I need a dishwasher, but some of you might. So, I know it's a little hard to see this because I couldn't like angle everything the way I wanted to. I love the smell of coffee. This is all organic. Here's the ingredient list. Can you see that well enough? Yeah, organic. Lion's Mane is great for memory. It's a superfood booster. And I'll make a smoothie after this. If you're not following me on YouTube yet, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I can't even believe I'm still at 250 followers. I mean, I have to start all over. It's all what it is. Obviously, Ridiculously Authentic had the majority of all my content. I'm not going to go back and start putting the same videos on my Lana Labonte because it just doesn't make sense. You know what? We're moving forward, not backwards. And I do admit I've had to deal with my own frustrations, animosity, feeling wronged. Yeah, because I'm upset with myself, because that's how I operate. I recognize that I'm not upset with the other person. I'm upset with myself for allowing things to get to the level that they did. So if you've seen some of my videos and you know, A lot of that, I like to share what I journal, what I sit with, what I reflect upon, because everything I do in my life is what helps me grow, because I'm willing to sit with it and allow myself to see it, to feel it, to own it, to embrace it. I don't deny anything in myself, because that would be denying my heart. That would be denying my soul. You know, we come to have certain experiences in this life. Do you know, one of the things I have determined after everything that transpired with Ridiculously Authentic, I will say this much, because I do believe I have grown immensely over the years anyway. I had to full on experience what narcissism was and looked like. I don't feel I had it to the degree that anybody else out there has struggled and allowed themselves to get deep into, because I felt like I was more of an observer in the circumstances that I was under. And I had escapes, so I had my way of dealing with it. And I was able to call it out every time it happened, although that created more struggle. I highly recommend any of you out there, please choose a partner that's willing to work with you and not against you, who is not in a competitive state of being, constantly seeking to prove themselves. That's what I was struggling with most of the times. And, you know, being in awareness of yourself is what allows you to be in awareness of others. You can see where other people have their pains when you own your own. You can relate to somebody easily when you know your own stuff. It's crazy. So I just pat this down just a little bit. You don't want to press it like you would in an espresso machine, like, you know, the coffee pressing where you have that little thing like this and you push it with a little, it's like a mallet. You don't do that with this one. And then you take the top and it screws together. I freaking love this. I have had this this is my original Mocha from when I was in the Air Force and I first went to Naples, Italy. Oh my gosh, that's like 1999? No, 1998. It was, the year was December 1998. It was right before the Macedonia thing erupted, because I had to go to Skopje, Macedonia. And I was TDY to Jack Molesworth in the UK. I had to fly from there down to Naples, and then I had to catch, we took a U2, was it a U2? I think we took a special plane over to Macedonia, to Skopje, where we had to do some work. And not long after that was when it blew up. And I'm grateful I was there while it was still good. So, now, when all is said and done, that will be filled with coffee. So, we put it on the stove. On high. It will signal us. So as we wait for that, we're going to fill up this with water. Buddy's outside because he likes to be out in the sunshine. I have to put some more water in that. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I could put the coffee in there, but I have another coffee. I don't know if any of you have ever used this before. It's a super coffee by Kaitu, Kitu. I found this and I thought it was kind of good. It's a little too sweet for my taste. They use monk fruit. Essentially, it's Colombian coffee with water, pea protein, MCT oil, potassium phosphate. Not sure why they add that, but natural flavor. Not crazy about those words, especially when I see natural vanilla flavor. May have to rethink this one. But essentially, this is what we're trying. It's a little sweeter than I like it, like I said. But it is vanilla. I'm going to add some of that to my smoothie. I have a mocha one too. It's okay. Later today will be my kombucha brewing, because I have to make up my flavors. And speaking of which, can you see that big old booch? In fact, I will move that over there because that's going to get done. We're going to get her done today. Woo! No, these are not my indoor shoes. These are actually my sneakers because I had to run outside today's trash day. On Tuesdays, they do the trash and the recycling. And so because I went to go move them, they had picked everything up. I was moving the bins back to the back of the house. So yes, we will be doing the kombucha here afterward. All right. The smells are so good, wafting in the air here. All right, we're gonna do some more. I have mulberries in there right now, white mulberries and banana. And then I'm gonna add some of my favorite. Again, Sigmatic is becoming one of my favorite, this plant-based protein superfoods repair. This is full of mushroom, like superfood mushrooms. Medicinal mushrooms are the way to go. You get your vitamins and minerals and nutrients. This also has hemp and chia and pumpkin proteins. It has ashwagandha, which you know I love. Chaga, cordyceps, reishi, turkey tail, lion's mane. Yummy, yummy, yum, yum. The vanilla is the bomb. This is the best one. This is my favorite. And I'm just going to use like a big old hunker because I'm going to add the other one that I have. I have another one because they ran out of the vanilla the last time I went over there. So this time I bought 2 of these containers because I was afraid they're going to run out again. See how they do that? And this is Wellness Week at Nature's Food Patch in Clearwater, Florida. So it's 20% off on their supplements. And those are in the supplement department, although they're still on sale. I think I paid $42 a container. This one is the Mocha, the creamy cacao. It's not bad, but I prefer the vanilla, personally. I'm just going to put the same amount. Oops, I'm going to put that in there too. It's creamy and it melts in your mouth. Like if you've ever had any other type of mushroom blends, sometimes they're not always the tastiest. Ooh, did you hear it? Interesting, isn't it? Ugh. I picked these up at Aldi's. Check these out. This is LED lights. Ooh, listen to that noise. Ooh, I love the sound of a percolating espresso mocha. My mocha maker is making. It's percolating. My mocha maker is percolating. Perkle, perkle, perkle. I actually made a cute little video, and I'll be popping that up there later. Oh yeah, that's done. So you have to be very careful because the handle, you don't want to have that over. Ooh, look at all that steam. Look at that steam. Look at this. Isn't that cool? So what I'm going to do is pour this in here. Look at that beauty. And then we're going to put that back over there after I wipe that off. For anybody who had never done that before. Yeah, okay, so now we're going into the fridge. I needed to dilute that though because, anyway, freezer, banana. And my freezer's been creating a whole bunch of mess. The whole bottom keeps getting iced up. I don't know. I think I got too much stuff in here apparently. I'm gonna have to clean out my refrigerator. I could use like some help. I admit this, like I'm sitting here going, I can't be doing all this. I need somebody to help me clean up around my house and get organized. There was a time when I used to be so well organized, and these days, my hot water kettle's right there. Water kettle is like a must. And you know what's funny is I learned about the kettle when I was living in Europe, especially when I was in the UK, because y'all always have your tea, right? Let me see if I can reset that. Sometimes that lighting is not so great. I'm going to put the lid on this so that it doesn't get colder. All right. So, continuing on. This is my strawberries. I have to break them up. Might scoop that up. So it's not the same. You're thinking of like for like the French. I don't like French press coffee. Somebody was asking me that on Instagram about the French press coffee. If it was the same using, I don't like it because French press sits in the coffee grinds. So the only effective way to do it would be to remove the coffee grinds. Otherwise, it can end up being stronger like an American coffee. I like using the French press for my tea more than anything else, especially when I'm making the kombucha. And I have like several sizes of the French press. Coffee with cinnamon sticks, yes, I've had the cinnamon coffee. You know what I really like? Turkish coffee, Greek coffee with the cardamom. Breaking up the strawberries over here. So it's still strawberry season here in Florida. They have the Strawberry Festival. My dad was talking about it. My sister's supposed to be coming down to visit, so I'm excited about that. She's been saying that for a little while, so I'm not sure exactly when she's going to show up. Dad says the second week of March. Yeah, that sounds about right. Dad is supposed to come over today. Dad, if you're on there, tell me when you're coming over. I may need your assistance. For those of you tuned in. I'm not the type of person to be nasty or call people out, but ever since I had my property survey on my land at my house, the guy that I hired has not completed the job, and I'm probably going to need some reinforcement and some help because I paid for a property survey that I still have not received. $350. And I don't like being taken advantage of. I don't know about anybody else, but that's pretty messed up. So, I might be handing out his phone number and saying, would you please do me a favor? Call him up and ask him if it's a common thing for him to take advantage of, of military people, veterans especially, you know? And maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe he just thought it was okay after I made him sign he seemed nice at first, and at one point I was like, well, could you please, because he didn't have a receipt and I gave him cash, could you sign this hand receipt, a piece of paper saying he had received it? He didn't have a problem with that, but I pointed out that I've had people take advantage of me in the past and that I was just covering my own butt. And now I'm emailing him, calling him, leaving messages, texting, and he's not returning my phone calls. What is wrong with these people? Well, like, seriously, you got your money and you run? And then he wanted me to do a Google review. Well, I wrote him an email about 10 days ago and said, I'm giving you 10 days. And if you haven't done anything, don't worry, I'll make sure to give you a review and I will document everything. He was supposed to send me a letter with hand copy, like an actual printed out copy along with the booklet that he said that was supposed to outline everything that I could do within the code. And here I am 2 months later, still waiting on a finished product. He had reviews on Google already, and he has sent me a digital copy, but he was supposed to go next door to my neighbor and talk to her because they had put up a fence that he couldn't get to the 4th monument. There are 4 monuments. I'm in the city of Clearwater. There have to be 4 monuments. Now, when my neighbor was having their survey done, I was in no position to argue, but the guy who was doing it, he didn't make me feel like because I was out there the whole time, except for when they decided him and his son were having an argument, I had to walk away. But where he was placing his flag was not the monument. It was according to his survey equipment, and I didn't feel secure and confident that that was it because the neighbors behind had a fence meeting that was over, and it seemed to me that the monument would match all the 4 corners of the 4 properties. Why would it be different and offset? Didn't make sense to me. So I couldn't say anything. Now this guy, he's saying that according to the measurements, he measured from the one monument 75 feet over, and he said that it looks to be the way that the line of the property and the way that the fence is drawn up on my other neighbors, it is essentially meandering the line, and it's at the very back. They're almost 2 feet on my side with the new fence. So I'm going to go make peace with my neighbor. I don't have a problem with that since Tom's gone and we don't have that issue anymore. Talk about causing me more problems in my life. I swear he brought me more drama than I've ever experienced in my life, and I let it. Because I'm a very easy to get along person, and I love knowing my neighbors. I don't like having riffs and bullshit. To me, it's petty and it's childish. I don't believe in that stuff. I want to be kind to my neighbors, and I want to be able to support them. I'm not here to create struggle and strife. So I have to go next door and talk to her anyway, but he was supposed to go knock on her door and find the monument because you can't get to it through my side. And he never did. He told me one weekend he was going to be coming out, and I said, well, just make sure you give me a call so I can make sure that I'm there, because I was at a teacher training. That was in December. Since then, he has not returned my calls. He has not responded to my emails. I asked my dad the other day to make a phone call, and I don't know if my dad's made that phone call yet. I said, Dad, your daughter needs daddy backup, because my dad lent me the money to be able to pay for it. So I said, what you need to remind him is he's a grandfather, and the last thing he should be doing is taking advantage of a woman, given the fact that he would never want that done for his daughter. So just to let you know, as far as I have a copy of a survey of my neighbor's property, so I can see how the line is supposed to be, but I also see what he did. And my house, there was nothing on record when I went down to the city. So as much as I tried to find something from previous on my property, now I only have what he sent me in the email. But what the hell? Finish the job. Do the right thing. Stop taking advantage of people. I mean, I even sent the messages that I sent and left him were, listen, I'm very forgiving. I hope everything's okay. I'm not assuming that this is, but I don't want to be in a situation where I'm feeling like you really did take advantage of me and that now you got your money and you're done and that now you're ignoring me. I laid it out quite direct because that's how I am. A lot of people don't like confrontation though. My dad doesn't. So it was really tough for him to even hear me say, could you do me this favor and make this phone call? I know that's a struggle, but that's also an opportunity for my dad because he needs to deal with some things too. And this is part of his healing if he's willing to do it. So anyway, we're going to blend it up. Sorry about the noise. That's why I have the blender cover. It got a little stuck. It needs a little bit more water. Maybe we'll do this. We'll put this in there. Smell-o-vision. Yeah. Oh, sweet. I need someone to come and read. I really need to renovate my house because I want a big open space with my kitchen. I want a nice big island where I can do my dancing and my kitchen videos. I want to be able to share more, hold workshops. I have a huge vision. I just need the help and the support. And I have to admit, part of it might have been that I wasn't allowing the right people into my life that were there to support it as opposed to try to control it. Because that's what I essentially dealt with for 2 years. Was the idea that he knew what he wanted my vision to look like as opposed to working with me and working toward my vision. Or even sharing his, because none of it was making sense. Now we're rolling. I don't even own a TV. The only TV that was ever in this house was not mine. And I'm actually good with not having it. I do miss having like the bigger screen, but I can go to my dad's. gosh, this is going to be so good. I did not need a actual survey when I closed on my house because I paid cash. So if you pay cash, the only reason you need it is for mortgage company. So because I sold my previous home, I paid cash for this one. It was a good investment. I have a tendency to make good investing choices, smart ones anyway. All right, let's see how it tastes. A strawberry coffee smoothie. Oh my gosh, this is bomb diggity, baby. Because y'all know I lick everything. That'll be cut out. I'll cut that out. See, not everybody want to watch me lick my lid. Lick my lid. Beautiful. Good to the last drop. Lick it right, lick it good. Yeah, I know. I should have been. That should be my song. When you get Lana's lick of approval, you know you've done right. It's always a running joke with my friends that know me well. If you are in my personal circle, my inner circle, the comedy is that, where was Lana? You know, I had this jar that I had finally finished. I knew she would have licked it dry, right? So there, cheers to everyone out there. Thank you so much for joining me on this live. That is some good smoothie. I wonder how that would taste with the kombucha. Yummy. One thing that it was suggested from one of my neighbors was to call, I think they said engineering in the city, because they would have to locate the actual monument. And I don't know if that's going to fix the situation with the survey guy, but it's really unfortunate. I mean, nobody wants a bad review. So if you're all willing, I will also in the comments give you his phone number and his name and the website, and y'all can just bombard him and just keep, like, I don't know, call him, hound him, ask on his Google, why are you taking advantage of an Air Force veteran who gave you cash and you haven't finished the job? You know, like, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but that's essentially how I feel. Somebody taking advantage of me because I gave them the money up front and they haven't completed the job and followed through and finished their work, agreed upon. You know, I need to take advantage of the fact that I'm on social media. And that was one of the things I said to him. I said, listen, I'm just going to give you a heads up. I can help you or I can hinder you. I didn't say it that way. I said it a lot nicer. Everything I wrote was very kind. I didn't even want to sound threatening, but it's essentially like, is that where we've come to that? We have to come to a threat. You have to feel like, you know, oh, my business is at stake. Maybe I should do something about it. Why do people have to be motivated by fear as opposed to inspired by doing the right thing? This is an honest question for each and every one of you out there. Because if you are motivated by fear, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Just like the fear of death or the fear of an invisible, you know, boogeyman, that is not healthy. That's death. That's dying. Whereas if you're inspired by love, you just do the right thing. You just know you go with the flow. Because fear causes a conflict. Fear causes conflict within. And where there is imbalance in the mind, there will be imbalance in the body. That's what's on the title, right? So whenever you're not following what is in alignment with your heart and soul, because you're up in your head in conflict with it, that is going to cause dis-ease. Because the dis-ease is in the mind first, and the body is responding to that. The fact that you don't align the head with the heart It's a mind, body, soul connection. If all three aren't aligned and you're just operating from the mind, then you're going to suffer. You're going to be victim to your own dis-ease. Truth talk. All right, on that note, I love you so much. Spread the love. Hit the share button. Share to your stories. Share to your page, your personal page. Share wherever you feel this will benefit someone. Because honestly, we all need to be uplifted. We need to be empowered and live this life fully. Stop acting out of fear. That gets you nowhere. If anything, it holds you back and keeps you stuck in your dis-ease. So much love, many blessings. Be well.